Jillian here at Connections Early Years Family Center. I am a EarlyON staff here. So we're here in our good friend's garden, and much like your gardens at home, we're seeing a lot of fall changes going on. So one of the things that you want to do as the winter is coming and things are starting to change is you have to get your garden ready for the winter. Because just like any animal that's getting ready to hibernate, or maybe just like we get ready for winter by adding more layers, pulling out our winter jackets, we have to get our garden ready to give it the best possible time over winter so it can come back beautifully in the spring. So with that said, we're going to be going over a couple of things that you and your children can do outdoors today to kind of get ready for the winter and get your garden ready for that time, but also teach them skills such as independence, responsibility, and really show them how fun it can be to get outside and do yard work as a family, as a fun activity. And just a quick reminder, whenever you're going outside, we always have to have a couple things with us, including our layers, so scarves and mittens, sunscreen if it is still sunny out, which even in the winter it can still be quite sunny. And we always want to hydrate, so if it's past the season where you feel like you want to have ice water with you, you can always bring a thermos of hot water or tea with you outside, just to make sure you're keeping hydrated. So with that said, we are going to get started. So as fall is slowly beginning to make itself aware with the leaves changing and the temperature dropping, we need to do a little bit of work on our garden. And one of those things that we must do is bring in our indoor plants that we might have brought outside during the nice summer months. And we want to take them indoors because if it is too cold, they will die. They stay out too late in the season. So as our garden is getting ready and our flowers are beginning to fall and die, the weeds have not stopped. So the weeds continue to grow because they are a little bit hardier than flowers. So it's important still to pull the weeds out of your garden if possible. It makes it a little bit easier for your flowers if something is not stealing their nutrients. So one of the things that you can do with weeds that's a really fun activity for your children is you can kind of teach them the difference between something that is a weed and something that is a flower, because there are little telltale differences in the shapes of the leaves, how they grow, the different types of flowers that they have. It's a really fun way to work on some of those visual recognition cues, as well as really develop your child's cognitive functions in terms of being able to mix and match and recognize those different details. So often you can recognize weeds because they are different shapes than flowers. They're not often as big. So for these dandelion ones, they have that telltale almost ridge. And they never get very big. They just kind of grow near the base of your other plants because they're trying to steal their nutrients. Though they do have their uses in other ways. Also, you have these kind of vines that will wind around your plants and they'll start to choke them, so you'll know if you see this climbing up your plant that it probably shouldn't be there. So as the winter comes, you will notice that some animals have a harder time finding their feed. So a great activity you can do with your children is go around the garden and see which plants have seeds that you might be able to use for birds over the winter. So like our echinacea or coneflowers, we don't want to prune these because the birds can come throughout the winter and they can pick these little seeds out and they can eat them to stay healthy all winter long. Another fun activity you can do is you can always take any heads like this one that fell off of our sunflower, and you can take some string and just tie a little piece of string around the base because the seeds in the center will eventually dry and become easier to harvest. And you can turn it into a little feeder for birds that you can string up and again give them some food to go all winter long. This is also a really great one if you have a vegetable garden because you can pull out some seeds from your vegetable garden and dry them as well to teach your child about how we had agriculture in a way that is more sustainable, and just teaching them about where their food comes from and how you can make food a continuous process that's really fun when you use those seeds to plant your vegetable garden come spring. Another great thing that you can do in the fall, especially if your child really loves flowers and all the flowers seem to be dying, is you can plant some spring bulbs. So spring bulbs are so important because certain insects, such as types of bumblebees, certain types of butterflies, they do hibernate, but some actually stay awake all winter long, and they really need those first early spring flowers to get the nutrients that they've kind of been lacking, and using up their storehouse of energy all winter long. So if they don't have spring bulbs, it's really hard for them to be healthy and survive throughout the whole winter. Crocuses are a great one for pollinators. There will be a link posted including some activities and why this is important, but also a link with some of the best pollinator bulbs that you can plant for early spring. And again, you're just going to take these out into your yard, plant them. It's better to plant them in groups of say 5 or 10 than just on their own. And then when we're all done planting, we're going to add some bone meal just to try and deter squirrels from digging up our hard work. And also, if you do like flowers and you say purchase a container of tulips in the spring when they come into your grocery stores, you can save those bulbs, keep them dried out maybe in your laundry room or your garage, and come fall you can plant those as well. So when you're planting your bulbs, you want to plant them according to the instructions that come with them. Different bulbs will have to go at different depths into the soil. And when you do, you just want to take them so that the point is usually like a little tip to them that you can see is pointing upwards, because that's where the bulb is going to turn into a flower and push up. So if you do it upside down, it makes it very hard for them to grow the right way. So you're going to plant them in little clusters, putting 3 crocus bulbs in this hole, and you're just going to cover them back up. Make sure that soil is loose. You don't want it nicely packed, because if you do, it's that much harder for your plant to have to push through. I think that one's a rock, so you can take that right out of there. Cover them back up with some mulch, and then put a sprinkle of bone meal on top, because squirrels do not like bone meal, and hopefully it will keep them from eating our nicely planted bulbs. So something else that you want to do when you're getting ready for winter is you want to make sure that your trees have no damage that might cause them to maybe lose a branch or fall during the winter when they become covered in water, which eventually turns to ice. So while you're not going to do anything dangerous with your children, like cut down branches or anything silly like that, it's always a fun one to stand back and just ask your child to look up at the tree and ask, what do you notice? Remember, we're always asking them to be observant and to reflect on what they see. So do they notice anything like there a hanging branch, or any of the branches covered in brown leaves when the rest still looks green like our beautiful tree back here? And just having them get used to checking those signs and being observant is a great way for them to feel like they're helping out with a really important task, but also working on those observational cues. And again, if you do notice damage, don't do anything silly like necessary, like just cutting the tree down yourself or taking off any branches. You always want to be safe. Have the right equipment, and if you do need help, hire an arborist. And the last thing on our list of things that we can do in our garden to get ready for the winter is sweeping and raking leaves. So it is too early to actually rake any leaves, especially as we don't have that many trees here in our good friend's garden. But I'm sure at home or nearby your house, you probably have somewhere with a few more trees, and it's great to rake those leaves into a pile and really work on things such as your child's physical strength and coordination. You can always get a little bit of a shorter broom. Like this one would be great for size, maybe 12, or if your child's younger, they do have child-sized brooms and yard tools, just so they can feel included and like they're doing it with you. The same goes for the broom. Again, it's great to work on their coordination and their physical capabilities, such as their gross motor skills for sweeping. But it's also really fun if you guys are doing it together and they're having the great experience of doing this yard work with their parent or guardian, and just working on things such as scraping things into a pile, or maybe making a leaf pile, which we will talk about in a couple more weeks when we have some more leaves here in our good friend's garden. Alright, so that is the last of our activities that you and your children can do together to get your garden ready for winter. This is not by any means an exhaustive list, and there will be links posted below with some more activities you guys can do depending on what type of garden you have, and also depending on what it is that you guys want to accomplish in your garden for the winter. Again, this is a great chance to get outside with your child and really role modeling some of those things that we want to instill in them, such as responsibility and independence. Having them do something like help their mom or dad or grandparents or guardian do their yard work really gives them a sense of ownership over their own outdoor space. And also really shows them that chores can be fun, especially if you do them with your family. So I hope you guys give this one a try. As always, thank you for watching and thank you for connecting with us. See you soon.